So I feed my dog steak. I feed my dog steak because I said, if I'm going to be a pet someday of the computers, I'm going to do unto others as they would do unto me. I'm going to treat my dog that well.
Set an example now, because one day you may be the family pet. Interesting.
Yeah.
So over the past couple of decades, if you wanted a good job somewhere, you went into technology. And for all the people who went into technology, there still was a shortage of people. So if you had a child today of school age, what would you encourage them to do?
Oh my gosh, the future really is changing because of technology and being brought into every company in every achievable way, from communications methods to sales to economics. I'd still suggest they go into technology, and I would suggest you want to be one of the best, because the best always get hired by the great companies, only the top A players. So throw a lot of your youth into studying hard and achieving. Also, be a maker. Learn how to build things on your own at home. Be a maker, because makers understand how to take an idea and turn it into something real. And I always tell young teams trying to start an idea or a company, always have at least one of the makers as part of your starting team. And you need businessmen, and you need technologists that are well educated. So
you need businessmen, like your organization needed Steve Jobs. Steve had a very specific style that sometimes may be graded on people.
Yes, but a lot of people look at what Steve Jobs has brought to us and how he spoke, communicated ideas, and saw him as the great businessman. But when we started Apple, oh no, we were in our young 20s. We had no money in savings accounts, no rich relatives. We had an investor who taught us and taught Steve all the principles of marketing and why they were important. But he funded us, and he said, here's how you set up a technology company. Here are the job positions that you hire, and here are the characteristics and the duties of those job positions. So really, Steve was a learner, and for the first, up until he left Apple, for 7 years at Apple, he tried various projects, and every one was a failure because he had great vision, but not the execution ability. And one of the problems he had was he felt he was in an important part of the world, and he could move fast and do anything. And the trouble is, we moved way too fast on a lot of Apple products, and they weren't finished and polished and so beautiful like the iPhone when it came out. And he also learned to keep things secret, project secret, so that the development teams of engineers can work and think of the best thoughts and not constantly be barraged by everybody else in the company and outsiders telling them, judging what is it good or is it bad what you're doing. So he kept the iPhone secret from Bill Gates, unlike the Macintosh.
Yes, indeed. So it looks like we're going to have a second Hollywood attempt at the Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak story soon. So we're getting a bit of a myth built around the man here. But what was it like on a daily basis, Steve?
Well, there was a movie about Steve Jobs, and it portrayed him as the Steve Jobs we know and respect and love and did all these great things in our life, as though he were that same Steve Jobs in the earlier parts of Apple, and didn't show a lot of his frailties and miscomings. And what was the question? I know we're talking about movies.
I think people have they've mythologized. They've looked at
yeah, because there's a myth of Steve, and you want to extend it way back even before we started Apple. His idea to start a company, I already had a product developed, and he didn't know about it. And he came into town, and I took him to a computer club,